Hi, MC Bling Daddy here with the 5th video in the CBC Coding Engine series. If you've seen the previous videos in the series, you might want to skip to about 120 in this video. Otherwise, this series is intended to introduce the coding engine, CE, for Minecraft, designed to assist in using high-level programming code in Minecraft by generating command blocks at a lower level that, in effect, carry out that code. Check out the previous command block coding, or CBC, videos for how command blocks can be created and organized to do this, or see video number 1 in this series to find out how to add the engine simply to your own world. We'll look mostly at new commands for the new functionality we're introducing in this video, so if you have questions about commands for functionality that we've talked about before, please see earlier videos in the CE series. Last time we looked at variables, in particular to apply them to loops. This time we'll use the latest elements that have been added to our engine concerning for loop variables so we can understand and set up for for loops. Note that we've cleared out the code area and reset CR and CC to CO because it was getting a little difficult to see blocks being added to the code area from where the engine was being used to create the code. Now, for loops are loops that execute code in an environment containing a variable that changes regularly from an initial value to a final value. So, for example, 1, 2, and so on to 5. You might want it to skip more than just 1, though, each time. So by 2, 1, 3, 5. Or maybe by 3, 1, then 4. But not 7, because you set the final value at 5, and 7 would exceed that. So we need at least 3 parameters. The initial value will abbreviate INI. Here is how we declare it. Here is where we declare the final, or limiting value, fin. Whatever values we execute our code using won't exceed this value. And here is our incremental value, inc. It gets added repeatedly to the ini value. Each time it's used, the loop will repeat also. But the loop will end if the latest value exceeds fin. Now we need a couple more variables to keep track of where we are as the loop repeats. cur, holds the current value of the loop variable. It is set to ini before the loop starts. As I stated last installment of this series, one needs to prepare a loop for the next repeat, and this prep occurs at the end of the loop before it restarts. So cur has inc added to it just before the transfer back to the start of the for loop. We'll see that in the next video. The 5th and last variable we need is to track the remaining number of iterations yet to be done. rem. This variable is actually used to test whether the loop is completed. If rem is greater than 0, then there are iterations yet to do, so the loop proceeds. Let's execute this set of commands to create the declarations. We'll separate them from the rest of the code because we only need to execute them once. But setting the values we may need to execute repeatedly. For example, if we were to execute the for loop with changing ini, fin, or inc parameters. One more thing we're going to do now is to set the display of the variable that tracks where we are in the loop, cur. The location of this code-generating functionality is separated from the declarations area because of the limitation on what I can present in the way of engine-generating commands each video, and it's limited to 5,000 characters. Now, setting the display of objectives, or as we call them, variables, is a scoreboard operation also, as you see here, and we'll set cur visible on the right side of the screen. And we'll generate the display code, placing it after the coding blocks where the for loop variable declarations are found. Next, let's give ourselves some space for our loop. Then we'll set a starting point. We'll call the entry point fmn to indicate that it's the main entry point for the for loop demonstration. And then we'll take a look at the settings we'll generate for our primary for loop variables. The entity named FLp, floop, isn't a real entity, but you may want to keep it consistent with the loop setpoint entities you create so things are easier to follow. You can use any names you want, but these work for me. And we'll generate the code blocks to set their values, placing them before the beginning of the loop. Well, we've done about all we can for now to generate code, so let's take a look at it. Here, quickly, are the declaration commands and the sidebar view command. Let's execute the declarations and view the sidebar. There's nothing in the sidebar for curve because we haven't set it yet, and we won't until next video. So let's change it to fin because we will set that here. So we've declared our for variables. Let's take a quick look at our code entry point and then how we set the variables. Let's set those values, and if things go according to plan, we'll see that reflected in the sidebar. Well, that's all the farther we can go for now. Join me next time and we'll take a look at the actual for loop and see how it's set up. Please join me. Thanks for watching.